Welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Podcast with Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis, where you will learn about natural solutions to common ailments. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis.
Hello and welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And today we are going to educate you a little bit about gluten. And I know you're thinking, hey, I don't really care about gluten. Gluten's for people that think they're super overly sensitive and they're always worried about what they're eating. I think today will be a very fascinating show for all of you out there because you don't realize what gluten's really doing to you. So the name of this show today is called Is Gluten the Hidden Cause? We actually have some questions we're going to ask you to answer to yourselves as we read them aloud on air, where you can go, hey, maybe that's me, or maybe that's someone I know, or maybe that's an answer to something I've been looking for that I can't seem to figure out. And Dr. Lewis is going to tell us about what gluten does, about some random things that you may not know that gluten is creating in your life, and as always, educate us in his fun manner. So welcome to this show. Dr. Lewis, can you start us off today to tell us why we're talking about gluten and why that is so important?
I don't know the answer to that, but I wanted to call it gluten gone bad, but it didn't SEO correctly. There's things on Facebook or Facebook, whatever you call it, that says, well, why is it that people have been eating wheat and bread for thousands of years and all of a sudden you've created a gluten sensitivity or gluten allergy? It is real. There's no doubt about it, and I've searched for many years to find lab tests that would be good to explain what's going on in the GI tract beyond what we already do, which is great. And through a lot of searching, I finally found one that did, and it's like blew me into a new reality, and we're getting, holy geez, incredible results even beyond what we've already done. So I guess Jan will get to that sometime. But yeah, there is a gluten problem, and the reason is because they keep hybridizing our wheat, and that increases the wheat gluten proteins. It's not just gluten though; it's gliadins and several others that create zonulin. I may get in that in a little bit, but it used to be amber waves of grain, and now they're doing a dwarf variety. And every time you alter or you hybridize these things, one plus the other equals different genetics. And in most of them, it actually has about 5% of the genes that don't belong to either parent. And by the time you've done that several thousand times, you're increasing these proteins, including gluten. And you've heard me say before that, well, the way we fertilize our crops with the NPK, it gives it's like fast food for the food we eat, which is somewhere beyond stupid, but it causes it to grow so rapidly that it increases its protein content. People say, well, protein's a good thing. It's like, no, it's not. It's gluten. And gluten, you'll find out today, does all sorts of things. And I apologize. We always have 2 or 3 hours worth of notes, and we don't get around to all of it, so that's why I ramble so bad. But yeah, it's a real thing, and you should stay away from gluten. You should stay away from wheat. Wheat's one of the worst things you can put in your body. I don't care if you have symptoms or not, or you have symptoms that you've not really correlated, because sometimes people have correlations. They'll correlate it to something that's not a causation. Nobody should be eating grain except in maybe very small amounts, because I told a friend of mine a few years ago, he said, but the USDA says to eat 6 or 7 to 11 servings of grain per day. And I said, when you were in FFA, what did you do to feed your calf to make it fat? He said, I fed it grain. He said, oh crap, you caught me. I said, well, you got a big old belly and you're about to have a heart attack. And 3 weeks later, when he had his heart attack, he wouldn't call it a heart attack. It was an instant. His girlfriend said, please don't scare him and tell him I told you so. And I said, I'm going to rub his nose on the puddle in the floor because I love him and I want to save his life from his own bad habits. Stay the heck away from grain.
Well, then they go and get stomach surgery to try to get smaller from all of that too. So
yeah, he did that. So did several of my friends. Several of them don't want to tell me because they don't want my opinion. And I said, well, you do what you want to do. That's up to you. And then they get fat, 5-10 years later. It's like, well, you didn't do anything good for yourself, and you didn't get away from the very thing that created that. So,
well, and I think that's the problem. They don't really understand that that's being created because it's in everything. I mean, we just think that they're for the little sickly people. We talk about gluten problem. Now at the restaurants they're saying, is it an allergy or is it just a preference? And I'm thinking,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a problem. I don't really know how to answer that. It's almost like, are they going to flag you with this, or what are they trying to do?
And cross-contamination, I think, hits about 41%. And, when I finally found these lab tests that showed me what was going on, I literally thought I had some sort of nasty cancer. I hurt that bad. And they said, well, it's gluten, and they explained it to me in ways that are over my head, and I'm relatively intelligent, and it's like, holy cow, I've not gotten rid of gluten, but I've cut it down 90-95% easy, and oh my God, my gut pain, about 95% gone. I feel great, and my mental clarity came back, and my energy came back, and most of my sinus problems and allergies went away, just on and on and on.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of wanted to read to you, that was things that gluten actually causes, because we're watching a lot of patients that come into our office. They're new to us. They're on 4, 5, 6 medications, and everything they tell you is wrong with them, you trace back to the gut and gluten being a major contributor to it, and they just keep giving them more and more medication. And we're trying to help cut through some of that, so maybe you can take a shortcut and not get stuck with all these decisions that are being thrown upon you once you get to the certain point you can't stand it anymore, and they medicate you over it.
And you have to be a good example for your family. Some people have to step up to the plate and do the right thing. And I ask people, are you a viewer or a doer? I don't care if you listen to my podcast. I do care if you're actually doing something, and I'm absolutely amazed the people that listen, and thank you for sharing us, because I had a sweet conversation from a lady from Paris, Tennessee yesterday, and she said, I'm starstruck. I said, honey, I'm not a star, I promise you. So let's not just have the information, let's be a doer.
Yeah, so here's some things that gluten does. Actually, there's over 200 medical conditions that gluten can either cause, contribute to, or make worse. It can cause autoimmune disease,
which we're seeing more and more of that. It's worse now than it was 5 years ago, obviously.
It can cause leaky gut.
Yeah, that's most of us, just to different degrees.
It is a common cause of unexplained iron deficiency anemia.
Oh, we'll see a bunch of those.
Yep. Gluten can cause a vitamin B12 deficiency.
That's almost everybody. So that's why you have to... let me stop. I'm going off a rabbit trail. If you don't have good digestion, you can't really extract the vitamin B12 out of the meat, and if you're a vegan, you can't get it anyway. So you have to have the methylated B12, and people keep bringing their vitamins in. It's cyanocobalamin. I've already told you about that. If it's cyanocobalamin, you might as well lick. Yeah, never mind.
It's like cyanide, huh?
Yeah, you got to have a methylcobalamin. And people asked me recently, a couple of people did, what's the difference between your methyl supreme and B12 folate plus, because they have very similar amounts. And it's like, well, yeah, they're both good, but the methyl supreme, which is what I take, and Janet can tell you the day I don't take it, because she said I'm not happy and energetic. You can tell I took it this morning because I'm a little hyper.
Your brother was not, though. I could tell he did not take it. So
he wanted me to hook him up with it, because he said, well, you gave our cousin, and it was like being on methamphetamines. I said, well, how does our cousin know what a methamphetamine works like? But the methyl supreme is a little bit different. It has something in it called TMG, which is trimethylglycine, which is methyl donor, basically betaine hydrochloric acid. But it also has riboflavin that the B12 folate plus does not have. And the riboflavin is necessary for red blood cell formation, which would go back into the anemia that Janet talked about. It helps with antibodies, cell respiration, and growth. We've talked about that a lot. It has helps metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So, hey, it doesn't matter what you put in your stomach, you need the riboflavin. with vitamin A, it maintains and improves mucous membranes in the digestive tract, which is what we're going to talk about more and more, and helps oxygen utilization of the tissues, skin, nails, hair, eliminates dandruff, helps the absorption of iron and B6. And I could go on and on and on, but that's the difference between Methyl Supreme and the B12 Folate Plus. They're both really, really good supplements. The big dog is Methyl Supreme.
Okay, cool. All right. There is a form of gluten in corn, and I'm sure Dr. Lewis is going to explain this one, too.
Yeah,
he loves this one.
Yeah, you've gone from preaching to getting personal. Go ahead.
There is a form of gluten in corn that can cause inflammatory damage. And how many people are eating corn tortillas?
Oh, Jesus. You're getting serious now.
Okay,
she's
ahead.
throwing rocks at me.
What form of gluten is in corn?
Well, I don't know, but here's the thing. We encourage you to, if you want to carry this to the nth degree and really get well, you get on our website and get the wheat zoomer, and then you get to add a couple others. I have not added the corn zoomer because in East Texas we have a pretty heavy Hispanic influence, and corn is in everything. It's like, well, don't give me flour, give me wheat. But the problem is, because years ago our wonderful scientists spliced in the BT, which is Bacillus thuringiensis or something like that, genes into the corn, and what that is called BT corn. It is so powerful that when the corn borer worm bites into the corn kernel, it explodes the worm's insides. And you think that's not hurting our insides?
Well, tell me about the wheat zoomer. When you say, well, you need to get a wheat zoomer, what is that looking for exactly?
Suspected gluten or wheat sensitivity, which we all have at just to different degrees, intestinal permeability, gastrointestinal inflammation, but that can present itself not as GI inflammation, but diarrhea, constipation, cramping, nausea, vomiting, headaches, especially, but including migraines. Different neurological symptoms, and I bet I don't get around all our notes, but there is ataxia, neurological problems just from eating wheat. And yes, that includes your little hyperactive kid. That includes Asperger's and autism. Many times, if you go gluten-free with your kids, most of their problems clean up. It's much faster if you take some supplements to heal your gut, though. The neurological symptoms, people have, I have brain fog or memory loss and numbness and tingling and anxiety. I already had that phone call this morning about weird numbness and tingling that nobody can figure out. This lady said, well, I'm not an avid reader, but I'll get around to what you suggest. And it's like, be a doer, not a viewer. Skin rashes, joint pain. The first one we did this on was this cute little girl. She's about 22, and she says, well, you've gotten me so much better. My health is incredibly better, but I'm having these little skin bumps. And we did the wheat zoomer, and that's the first one we did. Within 2 weeks, this sweet little lady, Lauren, wrote me an email that I couldn't read on air because she made me cry. Joint pain, autoimmune diseases, even low vitamin D status, and I talk to people about that. You've got to take a lot of vitamin D, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Taking 20 or 30,000 is what some of these people are suggesting. Well, don't do that without getting a lab, but it can mess up your GI ability to absorb and utilize vitamin D and other food sensitivities, and sometimes it's foods that you think are healthy.
Well, and that's an interesting thought, because I actually spoke to a young lady yesterday that had the wheat zoomer done by a different doctor. That was the only panel that they ordered.
That's like pumping up one tire and forgetting the other three.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for your analogy there. That's good. That's really good.
I got the stink eye on that one, folks. I'm just trying to get you to quit your stinking thinking.
Don't go down the road with one wheel or whatever.
Okay. Well, I'm hyper. I took my Methyl Supreme. But
basically, they had done just the wheat zoomer. When we order the wheat zoomer panel, we not only do the wheat zoomer, we do lectins. You pick another 2 food groups that you think that you eat the most of, that you think you may have an allergy to, and you can either do a food allergy panel or a food sensitivity panel. That all is just a big big, long. It's literally about 100 and something pages from what we've seen on the ones that have all done it, of a report that you get back. So when you're looking at that price that's on the website, that includes the consultation, and it includes almost at least 100 pages of report, just depending on how bad you are. So we just want to make sure it's all inclusive.
Yeah, it does include the consultation, but I don't say a lot about it because it's like, well, it's
pretty evident. I mean, they write down what's wrong. They tell you what to take, basically.
Yeah, and yes, I've taken the webinars and passed them and all that, but it's basically eat this, don't eat this ever again, and eat this once in a while. It's pretty self-explanatory, and people are being blown into a new reality of health by doing this.
And what's so cool about it is that they actually ship the kit to your house. It's not like you have to go to a physical lab and have it drawn, and it is a finger prick test. And it's literally little droplets of blood, like 5 little droplets. And the first girl that did it, Lauren, she was like, either this is the biggest gimmick ever or the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And I think she went with best thing since sliced bread after she got the report back. But,
but don't eat bread just because we use that analogy.
Yeah. And not even you're walking through the desert with it like whoever was for many years eating Ezekiel bread. Okay, so back to gluten. There is no such thing as gluten-free oats. Isn't that interesting?
Even though they say that, there's still the risk of contamination. And then there's other proteins that it's not just gluten. So, but I like my oatmeal. Well, it'll still make a cow fat, and I like it too. But I bet I don't do it more than 3 times a year.
And I can tell because I like oatmeal too, and I don't do it like probably those same 3 times a year when you're having it.
Maybe I like the sugar, but mostly the butter I put in it.
I think you can tell every time you've done it, it makes your allergies worse.
Yeah, it does.
It's really sad. I mean, once you've removed it and then put it back in, any kind of bad thing that had the gluten in it, you can really tell the next day. Gluten consumption can cause both excessive weight gain or loss. So people that just can't lose weight, just take out gluten. See, this is a free show. I mean, literally, we're not selling you anything. We're just telling you to stop gluten.
Yeah, you're not being sold anything, but I tell you, quit being a viewer and be a doer. But, there's a lot of people that are getting information. They're the most overeducated you're just not doing what you need to do. You got to be, man. You got to get on the destination. You don't want to get on the History Channel. You want to actually go to these places. There's a difference.
I want you to talk a little bit about this one because I think it's very interesting, and I think you have a really good reference point for it. Lab tests for celiac disease aren't specific and have a tendency to deliver false negatives. So could you tell me about what the difference is when you did the wheat zoomer and how they determined if you were headed that way?
These people, and I didn't expect a lot because I've taken a lot of other tests, and it's like, oh, yeah, you're so much smoke, mirrors, and bull. But these people gave me the consultation. Of course, they're trying to convince us because they're trying to sell their test, and I was on a video Zoom. And it's like they blew me away. They were way over my head. And anybody that's that far over my head, I have to just bow to them and say, yes, ma'am, thank you very much, because it was a lady, and she was absolutely brilliant. So this is by far the most specific I've ever seen. It goes eons beyond what I've had done before trying to find a good company to do this.
It's interesting to know that eating processed gluten-free food products contribute to malnutrition and diabetes.
Lack of gut absorption. We talk about that with you people that are, I'm talking to you about vitamin D. That's how we can judge your gut absorption. But if you want to get super specific, just do the wheat zoomer, etc.
Some medications have been shown to mimic gluten sensitivity. Isn't that interesting?
I got my Medicare physical, a few months ago, and I still feel 35, but the lady says, what drugs are you on? I said, I'm not on any drugs. She said, the average 65-year-old is on 8, 10, 12 drugs. I said, well, I'm not average. She said, okay, what kind of drugs are you on? I said, I don't do drugs. And she was very insistent. I said, okay, I love drugs. She said, aha, I got you. I said, caffeine in the morning and alcohol at night. I don't do drugs other than that. And it just blew her away. I said, well, why do you, well, you came in and said you don't look 65, you look 45 or 50. I said, that's because I don't do drugs.
Gluten can cause asthma symptoms.
Yep.
See, that's why I'm saying there's things you're going, oh, man, really?
And we've seen increase not just in celiac disease, but all types of autoimmune diseases. And you would not believe the type 1 diabetes that we're seeing compared to what we used to. And again, I'm a chiropractor. I just deal with you on a musculoskeletal issue. But by the time we put in enough supplements so that we can fix the musculoskeletal integrity, your body takes these nutrients and runs with it, because God, or the innate intelligence inside your body, is way the heck smarter than anybody is through their conscious mind.
And gluten can cause dizziness and loss of balance.
Yeah, so dizzy blonde's not necessarily because you're blonde. Okay, don't write me letters, blonde ladies.
And if you've been diagnosed with vertigo, try removing the gluten.
I've seen it work several times.
Vitamin C can actually help heal inflammatory damage caused by gluten. I would also like Dr. Lewis to talk a little bit about even more in detail about what other products are out there that can help heal the inflammatory issues caused by gluten, or to calm all of that down.
Yeah, first of all, eliminate it. But, during this COVID scare, we started running out of different supplements, and we only shop the top 10 or 12 best companies in the world. And the only vitamin C we could find was a multi-element buffered C, which has zinc and quercetin, and it has some other things in it. And Janet says, well, I don't want to carry that. It's too expensive. I said, yeah, but it's 250 tablets or capsules, so it'll last them 4 months. It is by far a really, really good vitamin C to take. Some of the things you need to take, and this is what I take only because I'm having lunch with Janet. She gives me something called Serenade, which is different enzymes which help with all the problems and the pollutants that we have. I take the chewable digestive enzymes B, and they taste actually good. Even kids with all kinds of gut problems could tolerate it and think it's kind of like a sweet tart.
And it's amazing, since we started those chewable digestive enzymes, a lot of the gut issues that several people have had that I know, like have to take stuff for constipation all the time because they can't go to the bathroom. It seems that between a couple of these products Dr. Lewis is talking about, they don't have a need to take any kind of laxative anymore. Yeah. So they're actually fixing the root cause.
Yeah, and one of the main things, and I'm assuming Janet puts this in my drink in the morning. God knows, I don't know what she puts in my drink, but it's called GI Support, and it's got L-glutamine in it, which is free form. Glutamine is the major, best, oh my God, wonderful thing to heal the lining of the gut. It's got a fiber inulin and N-acetyl D-glucosamine. It is a gut healer supreme, and I don't know how many scoops you're supposed to take. I think it's 1 scoop twice a day, probably be best. I don't know what she puts in my drink. I just drink it and say thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the probiotic that we recommend for people, especially that have gluten problems. It's something called ProBioEase, and it's a shelf-stable, USA manufactured probiotic. It's non-GMO, it's vegetarian, and therefore it's low FODMAP if you're doing the FODMAP diet, and therefore suitable for every individual, from your healthiest to your most sensitive person that you know. Some of the differences in it, because we'll tell people, do the probiotic. Oh, I'm picking it up at my large big box store. I've got it going on, and I'm thinking, no, you don't, because some of them can actually hurt your gut. This has a prebiotic in it. These are things that make this ProBioEase unique. It has the prebiotics, which you don't see that in a lot of them. It is low FODMAP certified. Per capsule, it's 50 billion CFUs, where most of your competitors are not. And the other part of that is we list the CFU by strain on the label. So look and see if that's just all being thrown together on yours, or if it is individually listed out.
And most of these probiotics are bull. And I used to have a lady that was a PhD in microbiology. She's passed on now. And, man, I got a real super education. Again, some people say I'm smart. It's like, no, I know when to bow and say thank you and be submissive to people smarter than me. And this PhD in microbiology taught me a great, great deal. And that's the only reason, one of the reasons I'm relatively well-versed in this is because I did submit to somebody that was smarter than me. PhD in microbiology. She carried a lot of weight. She was brilliant.
Well, the other couple of things that I'm super excited about ProBioEase for is because it got a delayed release capsule technology, so it's not giving it to you all at one time. And the other thing in it is shelf stable, so you don't have to keep it refrigerated. Many people travel out there and they can't take their cold probiotics along, or they're worried about it being shipped to them and it being warm. This ProBioEase, it does not affect it, so you can consider that. And I also want to, there is so much about gluten. I'm going to kind of hit the high spots here. And Dr. Lewis, as he has been doing, can keep jumping in when he hears something. Gluten can cause seizures and can trigger migraine. So if you've got those things going, stop the gluten. Here's the one thing I thought was interesting, and I didn't know this personally. Gluten can contribute to testosterone problems in men. And how many men are out there with that problem?
Most men, but it's also the plastics and pesticides and phthalates that act like estrogen. But yeah, gluten's a big contributing factor, and we've talked about, it's been a long time, but we've talked about the real research that talked about how wheat can cause schizophrenia. Well, if you've got a kid with ADD, ADHD, think about wheat and or gluten, and that's real research.
And it can also be a cause of thyroid disease.
Yeah, how many of you have thyroid that's not working like it should? That's about 2 out of 3 people, maybe 3 out of 4.
Gluten can cause your gallbladder to malfunction, and how many people are missing their gallbladders?
Yeah, and I'm a little bit, my heart is pure, my delivery sometimes is questionable. I tell people, yeah, I know you got your gallbladder out, we got some really good surgeons that can do that, but you didn't deal with the underlying cause. And they said, but I feel better. I said, well, are you going to cut your head off to protect yourself from a migraine? And they said, man, you're stupid. I said, no, that's just taking that to the nth degree. So let's try to get to the underlying cause.
And this is very interesting because you're seeing this more and more also, and parents are coming in here very frustrated. Children with learning disorders often respond well to a gluten-free diet.
Yep.
And look at what you're giving them first thing in the morning before they used to go to school, I guess, before they go to the computer now and learn online.
Well, you get all the hidden stuff from all these breakfast cereals. If it's made from a grain, throw it out.
Processed food can be cross-contaminated with gluten up to 41% of the time.
But there's hidden gluten in Bloody Mary mixes, Janet.
There's also gluten in braces and orthodontic materials, Dr. Lewis.
She gave me the stink eye on that one. Flavored coffees, anything. I gave up beer. I tell people, when your wife comes back to the young lady you married, I want Shiner Bock and dark chocolate. Well, I don't even do the Shiner Bock anymore because of the gluten in the beer.
And, people think, well, I'll just have a little bit of it and it'll be fine. It won't mess with me. It can take 3 years to fully recover from gluten-induced disease.
So it's not a destination. It's a journey to get your GI tract healthier. And once you do, your body, 70% of your immune system's in your GI tract. So, let's be nice to it.
And how about joint pain? How many people have joint pain? Gluten can cause that, as well as acid reflux or GERD, and we have a lot of people that talk to us about that and are on something for it, and most of them are depleting their B12 by the things they're taking for it to stop it, so their memory is super bad from it. It's like a cascading effect when they start having these issues. And gluten can cause IBS. So,
just main things, quit the grains.
I hope that you're learning something here, that it's not just for little sickly people. We do have, I'll try to get to a couple of these questions here.
But keep them coming. Even if we don't get around to them, we eventually will.
Yeah, we need questions. We're running out of questions. So it's time for y'all to get on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis on Facebook and ask some more questions. Go to our website and leave us a question there's a questionnaire there where we can answer those also. But Lance asked us a question a couple of weeks ago that we hadn't gotten to. He wanted to know about OPC and what are your thoughts, and exactly what is OPC.
Can you pronounce that?
OPC. How's that? I did pronounce it, did I not?
Yeah, it's oligomeric proanthobiosin. I can't pronounce it. What it is grapeseed extract. What are my thoughts, Lance? I think it's wonderful. It's in our BP support with the citrulline, and all these men like arginine. Citrulline hangs around the bloodstream, but it has enough of the grapeseed extract. It's really, really good. It's also has the quercetin. That is a really good thing. Personally, I like the Resveratrol because it's Polygonum cuspidatum, which is Japanese knotweed, which is resveratrol. And, me being who I am, I say, well, eating or drinking wine to get your resveratrol is just like drinking screwdrivers to get your vitamin C. You've got to go to where you can really get a lot of it. And then I like the Vessel Ease if you have any kind of vessel issues. Some of the antioxidants, varicose veins, hemorrhoids. I like the Vessel Ease. It has horse chestnut, gotu kola, butcher's broom, hesperidin, and a bioflavonoid complex. But yeah, grapeseed extract is a really, really good thing.
Great. Well, since that was a very long answer, I figured a very short question would get a short answer, but I was wrong. Thank you for explaining OPC. We have come to the end of our show again, but if you are new to our show, which thank you for listening to this, and you would like to get healthy and don't want to guess and you don't know where to start really, I always tell people go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out our health survey because that will help Dr. Lewis figure out where to get you started. We do have access to different kinds of testing, regular lab tests, like we mentioned today, the wheat zoomer test, but don't just guess at what you need. Fill that out. That's what we're here for, to help guide you. And if Dr. Lewis could give us some closing words today about something he would like to impart wisdom with as we end this show, we would appreciate it.
I don't know how wise I am. I wonder, but think about this for just a minute, because sooner or later you're going to have to live with the consequences of your doubt, or you'll have to live in the potential of your faith. Don't be careful, be bold. I talked about viewer or doer. Science only goes so far, and then comes God. Throw it in, let God sort it out. You will be blessed for it.
And that ends our show for today. You guys have a blessed week. We'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.